Hey, what's up, everybody? It is September 17th, 2019, which means we are ready for this week's TNT Tuesday. Hey, did you know that the global packaging industry is worth $975 billion? That is insane, all right? But it's not really surprising considering every time we go to a store, something comes in some sort of a package. With Amazon really at its peak here, we can see how everything is coming to our house in some sort of a packaging. So I think it's probably important that we sort of go out there and investigate it. And I also believe that's why PLTW brought on this activity, okay, within IED. So this is activity 5.9. This is an instant challenge. This is optional within the curriculum, but it's all about creating a popcorn package. There's all sorts of constraints and limitations to this. You can read through that in your own curriculum. But today we're going to go out there and take a look at this within the Inventor environment and how we can go out there and quickly create packaging using something that maybe we've never done before, and that is using the sheet metal IPT. So let's go ahead and let's get things started. So to get things started, I'm going to go up here, go to New. I'm going to be making sure I'm in my English template, and I'm going to come out here and find that thing called the sheet metal IPT. Many of us have been looking at this probably for years. Maybe we've actually gone out there and picked on it. When we did pick on it, maybe it just looked really, really complicated. Maybe we were scared and we ran away from it. Who knows? All right. But today I'm going to show you that's really not that bad. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to fake Inventor in thinking that the sheet metal we're bending up here is actually going to be paper. All right. So the first thing we're going to do in order to do this is come out here and find this guy over here. This is the very first step that you have to take. All right. So this is going to be all of our sheet metal defaults that we have programmed within the software. We can see when we do this, here at the dialog box, it's indicating that this is sheet metal. It's a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch. It's like 0.12. But obviously our paper is not going to be 1/8 of an inch or a little bit less than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and uncheck this, use thickness from rule, and I'm going to come out here and put in the actual dimensions for paper, which is like 0.004. This is just standard copier paper. We're going to keep it simple with this one. Once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And now this has all the information that's been programmed into the computer to go out there and translate all this for thickness of 0.004. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, just like with any IPT, is we're going to come out here and start a 2D sketch. So I'm going to come out here into a plane. I'm going to be building the side of my box first, and how I'm going to do things is going to be a little bit interesting. Just hang in there, and it'll all make sense here in the end, I promise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out there and create the side of my box. So I'm going to come out here, and I'm going to create this to be a 4 by 4-inch side. I'm going to go ahead and accept that, and there's my 4 by 4 side. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. Now I'm going to come out here and finish the sketch. Okay, so usually we're going out there to look for extrude. Okay, we're going to skip the extrude. We're going to come up here and find something called face. We're going to pick on face, and now it's going to apply that 0.004 thickness to that sketch that we just created. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So there is the first side of our box. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue this around. When I do this, I'm going to be doing this with flange. Okay, so we're going to be bending a flange around the corner to create our next side. So I'm going to go to flange. I'm just going to creep on in here, and I'm going to be looking for this side here. It's a very thin edge, so you got to kind of go in there and pick on it. All right, and I'm going to say that that is also going to be 4 inches, and I say OK. I'm going to flip this around, get to the other side, go to flange once again. I'm going to come in here and once again find that edge. I'm going to bend that around the side. That's also 4 inches. I say OK. And now I'm going to go ahead and bring it over to this side, go into my flange, and now I'm going to be picking on this edge. But when I do that, we can see that this is going to intersect, okay, with that other piece. I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to bring this back to like 0.3995. All right, so we can see it is awfully close. Okay, but it is not exactly intersecting, and that's what we want to sort of go for. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just accept that. All right, so if we're going to be creating this box in real life, you know, we're going to need some sort of a tab that wraps to the inside, and we can glue that to this face of the box. So in order to do that, once again, I'm going to come to flange, but instead of going in, all right, this is going to cause problems with intersections. So what I'm going to do is actually kick this out. So even the model is not going to be correct. Our end product is. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, hey, I want that flange to be 1/2 of an inch. Okay, once again, I am kicking that out so it does not intersect. I say OK. All right, and there's our tab. So if you look at most packaging, those glue tabs that we have within the packages are actually going to be chamfered. So I'm going to come up here and look. Here's a chamfer within sheet metal IPT called corner chamfer. Or we can see right now our distance is set at 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to come in here right to this corner. I'm going to go ahead and just set that at 1/4 inch. I'm going to do that on the top as well as the bottom. Just easier to go out there and assemble that and apply the glue to that tab. All right, so that's going to be the back, okay, of my package. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go ahead and create some sort of a top that's going to be able to open and close. It's a flap. Okay, so I'm going to come out here, go to flange, and now what I'm going to do is go ahead and just pick the back side of this. I'm going to send that back out, and obviously we know that distance is going to be 4. All right, so if you're doing some math, you can probably start seeing that maybe this isn't going to be absolutely perfect, but you know what? We're talking about a sheet of paper. All right, it's going to work absolutely fine when we go to bend all this up. I do promise you that. All right, so this flap is going to be coming over on top. So I don't know, we're going to have some flaps. They're going to have to come in and close this up so the flap can go over the top of it. So I'm going to come out here and go to flange once again. I'm going to pick the outside of this. I'm going to go ahead and just send that over a distance of 2. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. All right, I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Go into flange. I'm going to pick this outside edge. Okay, make that a distance of 2 for that flap. So these flaps are going to come in. This is going to come over the top of it. Now, if you're kind of thinking about this, you're like, well, you're going to need some sort of way for that thing to hook in. All right, so in order to do that, I'm going to come out here, go to flange again. I'm going to be picking this top right here. Obviously, 2 inches is probably a little bit too much, so I'm going to go ahead and just make that, I don't know, we can make that 1/2 inch. Okay, we can go with that. We'll say okay. All right, so I don't know about you, but if we were using this over and over again, that flap is probably going to get worn out. So here's another little feature we have out there. It is called hem. So what we're going to do is just overlap that right over the top of it to reinforce that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to grab this edge right here. We can see how it loops it over. Okay, and the length on this right now is saying take the thickness times a multiplier of 4. I'm just going to go out there and actually just put in what that measurement is. Okay, which is, I think it was 1/2 inch. So let's just type in 0.5. It takes it all the way down. It's going to reinforce that. I might actually bring that back a little bit. Okay, there we go. That'll work. I'm going to say okay. And so now we've gone out there and reinforced that. I don't know if you can see it, so let's take a look. There it is. All right, that's just been wrapped over to reinforce that flap. Okay, so we're doing pretty well here. All right, so the next thing you're going to do is when you go to put that flap in is you're probably going to want to come out here and sort of clean this up, you know, break this back a little bit just to give ourselves some clearance, some tolerance there, okay, for that flap. Great thing we can do is come out here and go to corner chamfer. We can go out here and determine what 2 distances could be. And I'm going to come out here and just simply pick on this edge, and we can see it right now. That's 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and just make this like 0.125, and I'm going to send that a total distance here of like 1.75. I'm going to go ahead and say okay on that. All right, we can see we just chopped that off just to give ourselves a little bit of a tolerance. Okay, we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to be coming up here, okay, going to chamfer, and we're going to come over to this edge. Okay, I'm going to pick on that corner. All right, obviously this is the wrong direction, so I can do the flip-flop, send that where it needs to go, and I can go ahead and say okay. All right, so we have our flaps on top. Okay, we are all established with that. Now we can start working on the bottom. All right, so easy enough. Here's how this is going to go. We're just going to make 4 flaps that we can bring in just like a cardboard box, and we can apply tape or glue on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to go out to flange. I'm going to go ahead and pick on this edge. I'm going to send this at a distance of 2. I'm going to come up here to this flange. Okay, send this out a distance of 2. Okay, flip this over, go to this flange, send that out a distance of 2, and come here to this flange and send this out a distance of 2 and say okay. So, like I said before, I know the model is not correct, okay, but what we're trying to do here is just get kids thinking about what needs to sort of interact with what, so we can go out there and create that package, okay, and we do have what we're looking for. All right, so what I'm going to do is before I go and do a save, this is absolutely critical. You have to remember this is come up here and pick on create flat pattern. If you do not pick this button, all right, this will not show up correctly in the IDW that we're going to do later. All right, since we use sheet metal IPT, look at that. It gives us the pattern that we're looking for. What you're seeing there in the yellow lines is going to be our fold lines. And if we look close enough, okay, we can actually see that there are little gaps, okay, cuts for those sides. So I'm going to go ahead and just go back and say, you know, go to folded part. I'm going to come out here in Inventor. I'm going to go ahead and do a save. Okay, I'm going to save that up, and now I'm going to come out here into the IDW environment. So let's go ahead, let's fire up the IDW, do a create on that. Let's open that up. All right, so I know an A size sheet is not going to be able to accommodate this pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to my sheet size and go to edit sheet. I'm going to switch this over to a C size sheet. Now, for those of you who know what a C size sheet is, most of you know that that paper is not going to be something that you can go out there and print on a standard copier or printer. So we're talking about the plotter environment. That's okay. All right, so let's go out there now. Let's go and create our base. So here's a package that comes in. This is the true size of it. It's a 1-to-1. Okay, and now a lot of you are looking like, well, I don't see the fold pattern. Well, if you come out here and look over here, you can see a flat pattern is available. Please note, this is only going to be available if, before you save that IPT, you went up there and actually unfolded that and showed the actual flat pattern. Okay, so we come out here, we pick on flat pattern. Okay, I can come out here now, I can go ahead and do a rotate. All right, we can see that pattern goes out there and fits on that sheet of paper. I say okay, and now look at that. We can go out there and we can send that right out to our plotter to have printed, which students can then obviously cut out. They can bend up and they can do whatever. The only problem that I have seen is that I went out there and I tried applying decals to the actual package, and I tried getting those decals to show through with flat pattern in the IDW. It did not work. Just know at this point in time, you can go out there and you and you can excuse me, and you can go out there and you can start inserting objects. So when you go up there to insert that object, what you can do is go to create from file. You can go out there to browse. Okay, then you can go out there and find any sort of logo that you want to incorporate into your design and say okay. You can drag that in. Okay, you can resize it. The only issue I found is that I haven't found a way to actually go out there and rotate this. So unfortunately, I think any of the images that you use, you have to kind of have your students think out how this is going to appear on the package and what rotation it needs to be, and make sure that image is saved in the correct orientation before you go out there and insert that image. So there you go, sheet metal IPT creating paper packaging for your classroom. I think this is something that would be a great experience for kids, especially knowing what that packaging business is worth. I know that there are colleges with particular packaging programs. I think it's just an absolutely fantastic thing. And once again, it all relates back to the curriculum, okay, with Popcorn Package and Activity 5.9. So there you go. Have a lot of fun with that. Everybody have a great week. And that's it for this week's TNT Tuesday.